Good evening. I'm George McGill, Mayor of the City of Fort Smith, Arkansas. And again, it's a pleasure to bring you the State of the City address. But before I start, let me thank the leadership here at the U.S. Marshals Museum for giving us the opportunity to be here this evening. And on behalf of the Fort Smith City Board of Directors, Director Settle, Savage, Director Good, Director Dawson, Director Neil Martin, and Director LaVon Martin, and our City Administrator, Mr. Carl Gifkin, and also our Deputy Administrator, Mr. Jeff Dingman. Thank you all so much for the work you do for our city. Before I get into the state of the city, and before I get into it, let me say it is good. I'd like to recognize a couple of people who've been instrumental in making things good in Fort Smith. They give a lot of their time and energy and do their jobs well to make us a great city. So at this time, I'd like to recognize first Tim Allen, who's the CEO and President of the Fort Smith Regional Chamber of Commerce. Tim has been with us since 2011, and prior to that, he was a project manager with the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. So on behalf of all of us here in Fort Smith, we want to thank Tim for all the work he's done to bring the number of jobs and retain business here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Tanya Sorrells to come forward and receive this for Tim. Thank you very much, and get that to Tim for us.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
He'll appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our other recipient is, you see her all over our community, giving back to those in need, helping wherever she can. And she's always quiet about her service, and she gives much, much more than she would ever get back. And she does it with a kind heart and a willing spirit. At this time, I'd like to recognize Ms. Keela Simpson, and she's a mission facilitator with First Presbyterian Church here in Fort Smith. And she serves on our Comprehensive Plan Improvement Committee, and also she works with programs dealing with domestic violence, and she volunteers again. Like I said, she volunteers all over our city to make a difference. At all of our COVID clinics and vaccination stations, you will see Keela helping those in need. And again, we'd like to show our appreciation for Ms. Keela Simpson.
I'm smiling behind the mask.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Again, good evening, and welcome to all of you that are listening here this evening. Again, this is part of the requirement of being mayor. We have to give a State of the City address every year, and this time we've got a lot to talk about. First thing I'd like to talk about is last week there was a lot of buzz in the area. We had visitors in from Singapore, and they were visiting Fort Smith to do an assessment of the Ebbing Air Base. We know it as the 188th Air Wing, doing assessment of that air base to determine if it's be a suitable home for their flight missions. Was visiting with Colonel Mark Anderson just the other day, and he used to be the base commander. And he was telling me something about the Singapore pilots. He said they're some of the best in the world. Next to U.S. pilots and Israeli pilots, the Singapore pilots handle their aircraft better than anyone. And we would be certainly delighted to have them here. Spent a great deal of time, certainly, taking an assessment of the air base, the facility, and they spent even more time finding out all they could about Fort Smith, Arkansas. I spent a lot of time talking to them about the quality of education in Fort Smith. And the timing was perfect. They had a chance to see what we're doing with our infrastructure in all of our schools. They had an opportunity to visit with the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith. They had a chance to go by the med school out in Chaffee Crossing. So truly, they were impressed with all the things that we're doing in education. They also talked about quality of life. If that mission came here, there would be between 350 and 400 people from that are based out of Singapore that would relocate to Fort Smith, Arkansas. and they were interested in how they would be treated. And we feel very comfortable. We convinced them that they would be treated well and welcomed as members of our community as they carry out their missions. Things are starting to pick up again. Just today, we received word that Fort Smith is going to host the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department, which is one of the departments of the state of Arkansas. And they're going to be coming here in October. It's going to be a big convention. It'll be close to 400 people converge on Fort Smith, which will mean over 1,000 hotel rooms, and visitors will be all over our city. So we're excited about the fact that we are open for business. Some things that have been initiated by the citizens of Fort Smith. I often say Fort Smith is bursting at the seams with good people, and they are starting to vote with their resources and monies. To give you some idea of what they're doing and how they're making these things happen, as we speak, there's a major cemetery project going on, initiated by citizens in our community to refurbish all of the cemeteries in Fort Smith. And if you drive by Roselawn and some of the other cemeteries, you can readily see the improvements that are being made. And when we finish this project, it's going to be significant. It's going to upgrade and make beautiful those final resting places of our loved ones. Hunts Park and Kelly Fields, those were big projects. We had our friends down at First National Bank contribute well over $1 million to renovate and put artificial turf on Hunts Park. We also renovated and partnered with them on the Kelly Fields, and our young people can now play on artificial turf. And this is going to attract guests. We're going to attract baseball tournaments. We're going to attract more and more people to Fort Smith to participate and utilize these new facilities that we've put together. And just the other day, we broke ground on the Community School of the Arts, which is going to be located adjacent to the U.S. Marshals Museum right here on the riverfront. And it's going to be a major piece. And talking with the Singapore delegation, they were very interested in that Community School of the Arts. And so again, the timing was perfect. All of our big events are on tap to come back this year, and we're very excited about that. The Arkansas-Oklahoma Rodeo is scheduled to come back this year. The Steel Horse Rally is scheduled to come back this year. The Peacemaker Festival is scheduled to come back this year. And our city's 4th of July celebration is scheduled to take place again this year. And we're very excited about that. There's demolition and new construction going on all over Fort Smith. Almost every turn you make, you're going to see an old building coming down, and you go 2 blocks and you're going to see a brand new structure going up. Things are really, really happening in this area. And just by the way, the American Rescue Plan, just recently passed by the new administration, is going to very much benefit the city of Fort Smith as we do an examination and receive those funds that will be a part of that. So we're very excited about that. And we will be very good stewards of those resources when they arrive. Locally in city government, the city of Fort Smith employs well over 1,000 people. And they are our friends, they're our neighbors, they go to church with us, and their children go to school with your children. And I'm calling on all of you to show appreciation for them and their families. When initiatives come about where we have to support our fire and police and our parks, let's make sure we take care of that. Let's take care of our own. For example, we have a new dispatch service that we implemented in 2020. And according to Fire Chief Phil Christensen, it's going to push our systems and our technology to the next generation. Again, we're starting to demand more and more out of our city employees, especially those that deal with emergency services. So let's support them always. They've had a tough stretch. 2019, flooding, record-breaking flooding. And beginning in November of last year, starting in March of last year, we began to deal with the issues that are associated with COVID-19 pandemic. And they braved through all of that. They still mounted up to go put out the fires. They're still mounted up to go investigate accidents. They're still mounted up to provide emergency services. Again, sometimes we don't appreciate all they do. So please, whenever you get a chance, say thanks to them. The Parks Department, parks and outdoor recreation has risen to a priority in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis. That was the only outlet many had, and that was the opportunity to go outside, go to a park, walk on our beautiful riverfront, participate in outdoor activities, and our parks rose to the occasion, providing safe places, clean places, much activities all over this city, and people really and truly have taken advantage of it, and we appreciate that. I was visiting with City Director LaVon Martin, and he was sharing with me a conversation he had with one of the CEOs of one of our big companies, and he shared with him the importance of our parks and trails and outdoor recreation to his employees. And so that being said, we want to make sure we maintain them at a high level. There's our riverfront sports complex, soccer complex, and it's well underway and being developed down here on Clayton Expressway. The Harley Wilson Park project is just about finished. Brand new basketball courts, handicap accessible playground equipment that's been highlighted and talked about all around the world, right here in Fort Smith. And it's adjacent to, it's right down the street from Future School, which is growing and growing. And so we're excited about all the great things that are happening here in the River Valley. And again, I did mention Hunts Park and its development, a $2.5 million project, the Kelly Fields, and the soccer complexes and the Community School of the Arts. All of these things are making a difference in the quality of life here in Fort Smith. Our utilities department is just now starting to man up again so we can have full employment in those areas where we can address the water leaks, the utility issues. And so I'm asking all the citizens to be patient and bear with us as we get these things fixed. We know the things that are broken, and you can count on our utilities department and our streets department to get these things fixed. Fort Smith thrived almost, I'd like to say, in the midst of COVID-19 in 2020. For example, our building permits hit a 12-year high with over $215 million through November of 2020, which outpaced the 2000 values. We had financial resilience in 2020, and the general fund grew $5.3 million that resulted in a $3.5 million surplus in the midst of a pandemic. That tells you who we are in the River Valley. And through today, almost 1,000 new jobs have been created here in the River Valley in Fort Smith, Arkansas. The first 3 weeks of the year, we announced close to 400 new jobs, most of them paying north of $20 an hour in the River Valley. There's a shortage of homes. Homes are being built. Home values are going up. Things are moving about, and there's a lot of excitement in the air. If you get a chance to talk to a real estate agent, they will tell you that things are bustling here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And I'd like to thank the employees that work at those companies, employees at Mars Pet Care, Gerber, Owens Corning. Many of these big companies had options on where they would expand or where they would relocate. And all of them decided to stay in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and that's a tribute to the quality of workforce that they have. So to all of those employees that go to work and practice all the things you know to make these companies great, we want to thank you because you are the reason they stay in Fort Smith, Arkansas. June 2020, our unemployment rate was 11%. As of January 30th, The rate is now 3.7%. The state is 4%. People are working here in the River Valley again. And I'd like to thank all of those companies that stayed the course. Thanks to our manufacturing hub sustained our city during this difficult time. And we'd like to thank all of them. Again, the national unemployment rate is 6.3%. But here in the River Valley, it is 3.7. So there's job opportunities for anyone that's interested in a job. The capital investment made by businesses was $250 million. That is more than twice the rate in 2019. Again, the investment in 2020 was twice as large as it was in 2019. Again, that goes to the trust, that goes to trusting and building a great future. And again, people are investing in this community at record rates. And during the COVID crisis, some of our companies were very agile. They had the ability to sort of shift gears and produce new products. And I'd like to thank those at Pradco and Pernod Ricard for producing the sanitizers that was distributed all over the country. They shifted gears from what they were doing and then helped this nation with those kinds of products. Pradco manufactured face shields, and we know them as a lure manufacturer, a fishing lure company. They shifted gears to assist this nation. And the people out at Gladfelter and partnered with Rockline, they shared in making sanitary wipes that was distributed all over the country. And we made sure that our local hospitals and clinics and nursing homes had a readily available supply of all of those products. So thanks to all of them. And our Peak Innovation Center is drawing national attention. That project, in collaboration with UAFS, is a multi-million-dollar project. The facility is designed specifically for career-focused programming taught by the UAFS faculty. And it's going to be an amazing project. Again, that's all happening right here in Fort Smith. There's so much going on, it's very easy to overlook some of the great things that are happening. And we can't forget what's happening at Fort Chaffee, at Chaffee Crossing. It is an amazing project, and the military was very wise to turn that property over to the city of Fort Smith and our neighbors to the east of us. As of today, over $1.8 billion in investments has happened because of the property sales out in Chaffee Crossing. $1.8 billion. That's circling and turning over into our economy and turning over in our communities. Has created almost 4,000 jobs right here in the River Valley. Some of the key projects, certainly the Highway 255 widening and extension is very important, the trails that are happening out there. They've developed over 38 neighborhoods, 38 residential neighborhoods with over 3,200 homes. That's who we are, and that's what we're doing right here in the River Valley. The Arkansas Colleges of the Health and Education, very excited. They graduated their first class of young doctors just a couple of weeks ago, if not even that long ago. And the beautiful thing about that, more than 70% of them are going to stay in the area, which is going to fill the void of primary health care for our region. So we're very excited about what they're doing in our med school. And they, because of that school, hundreds of millions of dollars turn over in our community that are related to that medical campus. And think about the Mercy's Rehabilitation Hospital, AHEC Celebration Garden and Wellness Park. Plus, the med school is collaborating with Stanford Health, and they're producing a new health and wellness research center, which will be the largest in the United States of America. All of that's happening right here in Fort Smith. The state of our community is good. They're building a new Ronald McDonald House, a $3 million project, happening right here in the River Valley. Then you think about how we meet the needs of those that need us. And I think about the River Valley Food Bank, all of the food that they provide. And even more importantly, I think about the Antioch Youth and Family Service that distributed close to 5 million pounds of food in 2020 to make sure that no one went hungry. COVID-19 caused a lot of people to have to search out food for the very first times in their lives. But we all stepped up in the River Valley and made sure no one went hungry. We also have an organization called 100 Families, and they service impoverished families with housing, food, and transportation. So there's a whole array, a wide range of services that we provide in the River Valley to meet the needs of those who need us. And we must think about some of the good things that are also happening at other levels. At the state level, we have a highway commissioner. Mr. Simpson is a highway commissioner, and he's the first highway commissioner we've had in Fort Smith, Arkansas in the last 50 years. And immediately he went to work for Fort Smith, Arkansas. And later this year, probably in October or November, you're going to see work begin on the Townsend Avenue project, which is going to be a complete rebuilding of Townsend Avenue from Garrison Avenue all the way to Zero Street. Things are happening in our region. Think about Mr. Benny Westfall. Benny was recently appointed to Game and Fish Commission. He's already actively pursuing ideas and thoughts with the Game and Fish Commission on what could be done in our area where he could help us. We also celebrated the Arkansas Teacher of the Year. Came right from Fort Smith, Arkansas. And we celebrate Miss Susanna Post, who works at Bell Point. We brought home the state championship for girls basketball at Northside High School. We have been showing that we can win in all aspects. That being said, the state of Fort Smith is very good. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would bet on Fort Smith getting that Singapore mission. I think we're the favorite. Certainly I understand that favorites don't always win. But if I was a betting man, I'd be betting on Fort Smith, Arkansas, because of its people, because of all the great people that lives in this area, their kindness, their generosity, their friendliness, and their willingness to help one another makes us a prime candidate for any company. Hydro came here and brought close to 250 jobs, again, paying north of $20 an hour. And I thank Tim Allen at the Chamber because he always has to answer the question, why Fort Smith, Arkansas? When cities and states are chasing these companies, chasing these new jobs, full force, and they find their way to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and the first thing they ask Tim, why should we come to Fort Smith? And the one thing we always say to them, it is the people. You can count on them. They know what it means to show up on time. They know what it means to give you an honest day's work. And I can assure you, all of the people at Gerber will gladly tell you they're proud to be there. Gerber had a big decision to make. But they chose to stay in Fort Smith because of the quality of the workforce. COVID-19 is not going away like we want it to. It's not just going to disappear overnight. But we're getting to a place where we can get back to normal. The infection rate is down below 5% in the state. It wasn't that long ago where our hospitals were full, our emergency rooms were full, ICUs were full of people suffering from this pandemic. Those numbers have drastically been reduced. And it's because all of you have done your best to follow the protocols that have been outlined by the Department of Health and the governor. So we thank you for that. We don't ever want to go back. They're going to lift the mask mandate at the end of this month. Let's continue to be smart. Let's continue to do the things that's going to protect our friends and our neighbors and our families. Let's be kinder, less critical. Let's complain less, but communicate more often about our differences. People listen to us. They listen and see what we post on social media. Let's be kinder. If you have a difference, have the courage to pick up the phone and call those that you differ with. Do that for us. And we'll always show a good light to those that are interested in coming here to live, bring a new family, bring a new business, or just to visit. With the success we have, that we're having, and we're having a lot of success now, trust me, more businesses are going to come to our area. More families are going to come. Tourists, students and senior citizens, and military personnel are looking at us. And we want to make sure they get a good picture. Last year, I closed the address with this. I said, I don't know about you, but I see a pattern here. We are growing the right way, and we are changing daily. Our ability to adapt and restructure quickly for the times at hand and ahead is again getting national attention. Let's stay the course for the good of our children and grandchildren. And I'll close with this. Now is not the time to fear. Let's not be afraid to take the right steps. Let's not be afraid to make the bold decisions that's going to take us to another level of prosperity. Sometimes these mountains seem high, but let's don't be afraid to meet the challenges that are ahead. Again, I say to you, we are very, very proud of being here in the River Valley. And we are certainly Fort Smith strong. Thank you.